Hello again everyone. In this video I'll show you how to do some fairly simple conversions using the E6B. So unlike the last video where we were making some complicated altitude and airspeed corrections, in this video we're going to do some more simple conversions between units of distance, units of weight, units of fuel, and units of temperature. So in the first example we are going to convert between statute and nautical miles, which is quite simple to do. So if we look at the top left side of the E6B, you'll notice that there is an arrow labeled nautical and an arrow labeled statute. So it shouldn't be too hard to figure out here, but basically all you have to do is align the number that you would find on the B index, your distance would be on the B index, whether it's a statute mile or a nautical mile, place it under the respective arrow, and then you can read the conversion under the other arrow. So in our first example we have a distance of 15 nautical miles, so all we have to do is spin the E6B to place 15 underneath the nautical miles arrow, just like so. So we've got that lined up there, and then underneath the statute arrow you would read your statute mile. So 15 nautical miles is about 17.2, 17.3 statute miles. Obviously you can do this the other way as well. So if we know our distance in statute miles, so 23 statute miles, we would align the 23 with the statute mile arrow, which we have done so here. Underneath the nautical mile arrow we will read the nautical miles, which is 20. So 23 statute miles equals 20 nautical miles. Now of course in aviation, primarily we use nautical miles, especially for distance. But statute miles are sometimes used for things like visibility measurements in our weather products. And of course our airspeed indicator usually reads in nautical miles per hour. That's what a knot is. A knot is 1 nautical mile per hour versus the speedometer in your car, which reads in statute miles per hour. So there is a slight difference between nautical miles and statute miles, but as you can see it's not a whole lot. Now you can also use the E6B here to convert from statute and nautical miles. Those are what we would consider to be imperial units of measurement. We can convert those imperial units to the metric system. So if we wanted to convert between, let's say, miles and kilometers, we could do that. So a fairly easy way to do that, you'll notice that we obviously have our statute and nautical mile arrows that we've used previously up here on the A scale, and we also have a arrow for kilometers up here on the A scale as well. So let's say for example we wanted to know what 200 kilometers was in statute miles. We could spin the number 20 on the B scale to align with the kilometer arrow on the A scale, which we have done. So now 20 is aligned with that kilometers arrow, and we can look for under the statute mile arrow to determine what that is in statute miles, and it looks to be about 125 statute miles equals 200 kilometers. You can also figure out the conversion to nautical miles as well if you look into the nautical mile scale here. In the next example, let's say we want to know what 50 statute miles is in kilometers. So we'll spin the number 50 on the B scale, align it with the statute mile arrow on the A scale, and then we will look under the kilometer arrow on the A scale, and it would tell us that 50 statute miles equals 80 kilometers. In the final example here, we have 180 kilometers, and we want to know what that is in nautical miles. So we could find the number 18 here on the B scale, align that with the kilometers arrow on the A scale, which we have done here, and we wanted to know what that was in nautical miles. So we'd look under the nautical miles. Error rate here looks to be about I'd say about 97 nautical miles. Next, we'll say that we're interested in converting between meters, which of course is a metric unit, and feet, which is an imperial unit. So if we look at the A scale, you'll notice there is a line for feet, and on the B scale, there is a line for meters. If we line those two up with each other, so now the meters arrow is pointing to the feet arrow. Now we can look at the A and the B scales to make those conversions. So the A scale would represent the number in feet. The B scale would represent the number in meters. So let's say we had 10 meters and we wanted to know what that was in feet. Since meters is on the B scale, we'll look for the number 10 right here on the B scale. And right above that would be that value in feet. Looks to be, I would say, about 32.5. So 10 meters equals about 32.5 feet. Next, we'll say that we have 6,000 feet, and we're interested in knowing what that is in meters. So the feet is obviously on the A scale, so we'll look for probably the number 60 to represent 6,000 feet. So right below that would be meters on the B scale, and that looks to be about 1,830 meters equals 6,000 feet. Now, of course, you may be wondering, who cares? Why do we need to make this conversion? Well, you probably don't need to make it a whole lot until you start flying internationally in some other countries where ATC will provide altitudes in meters versus feet. So you may be interested in converting that, although your modern avionics system should be able to do that for you as well. Okay, next we'll do some weight conversions. So you'll notice on the A scale there is an arrow for pounds. On the B scale, an arrow for kilograms. Kilograms is the metric unit, pounds is the imperial unit. So if we align those two together, we should be able to convert pounds on the A scale with kilograms on the B scale. So we'll align those two arrows right there. So now your kilograms and pounds are aligned. So for example, if we were interested in converting 40 pounds into kilograms, 40 pounds would be right here, kilograms would be right here. Looks to be about maybe about 18.1, just slightly offset from that 18 there, so probably about 40 pounds is probably about 18.1 kilograms. Of course, we can do that the other way. So let's say we wanted to convert 30 kilos, 30 kilograms into pounds. So we could find the number 30 on the B scale, which we would find right here, and on the A scale would be that number in pounds. Looks to be about 67 pounds. So 30 kilograms, about 67 pounds. Okay, next we're going to do some fuel conversions. We're going to convert between imperial gallons and US gallons. So the gallons that we use in the United States are actually slightly different than the gallons that are used in Great Britain and the Commonwealth. Not really sure why that's a difference, but it is. So let's take a look. So on the E6B, you may notice a line for US gallons on the A scale, which is right here, and then a line for imperial gallons, which is on the B scale right here. So we have to align those two together. And there we go, like so. So now we have imperial gallons on the B scale aligned with US gallons on the A scale. So therefore our imperial gallons be red on the B scale and US gallons red on the A scale. So let's say that we have 8.3 imperial gallons. So 8.3 is right here. Imperial gallons on the B scale in this case. Above that on the A scale will be the US gallons. So that's 10. 8.3 imperial gallons is 10 US gallons. Next example. Let's say that we have 12 US gallons. So those would be on the A scale, because that's where we have the US gallons arrow. So there's 12 12 US gallons, and that would convert to about 10 imperial gallons. Okay, next let's convert liters and US gallons. So between the metric system and the modified imperial system, I guess, with the US gallons. If we look at the E6B, we can again use the same line for US gallons here on the A scale, and there's a line on the B scale to represent liters, so we can align those up right there. So they are aligned right now, liters aligned with US gallons. So in our first example, let's say we have 190 liters, so liters would be on the B scale. We can find the number 19 to represent 190 right here. So the A scale would indicate US gallons, which looks to be about 50. So 190 liters, 50 US gallons. We can do the same thing in the other direction. So we'll say that we are converting 79 US gallons to liters. So if we look on the A scale for 79, 79 would be right here, and that would represent about 300 liters. Okay, next let's convert US gallons to pounds of fuel. So you may notice that on the A scale there is a fuel pounds arrow, and there's also an oil pounds arrow. And that's because the density of fuel and oil is different. So depending on whether you're trying to determine the weight of fuel or the weight of oil, you would obviously use the respective arrow. So 1 gallon of avgas usually weighs about 6 pounds. So basically that fuel pounds arrow is going to make that conversion for us. Now, there is a slight issue with this particular E6B in that we have a marking here for US gallons on the B scale. There should be an arrow associated with that, and that should point to 12.8. So that arrow should look like this. So if you have an E6B perhaps made by Jeppesen, chances are you're going to have that arrow there. But on this particular E6B, for some reason that arrow wasn't placed on the face of the E6B. So with that in mind, we will align the number 12.8 with the fuel pounds arrow, like so. So again, pretend that there's an arrow here from the US gallons. The arrow would look something like this. It would point right there. So we have that. Well, we're a little bit off there. Let's fix that. There we go. That's better. So let's draw that arrow again. This is where the arrow should be on your E6B. It's at the number 12.8. So we've got US gallons aligned with fuel pounds. So if we wanted to know what 50 US gallons of fuel was in pounds, you could look for the number 50 on the B scale, which we find right here, and then in pounds, that would be 300. So 50 US gallons, 300 pounds, which if you do the math, that checks out. We can also convert the other way, so let's say 180 pounds. So that would be on the A scale, look for the number 18 for 180, and on the B scale would be our gallons, which is about 30 US gallons, which again, if you do the math, that checks out as well. Okay, last conversion I'm going to show you how to do is with temperature. This is super duper simple. There's no spinning of anything even required here. So we are just using the temperature conversion scale right here along the bottom of the E6B. So let's say we wanted to convert 30 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. So if we look, Celsius is the top line, Fahrenheit's the bottom line. So 30 degrees Celsius is right here. So that would be about 86 degrees Fahrenheit. So 30 degrees Celsius is a pretty nice day. Next example, this is a fun one here. So, minus 40 degrees Celsius. Minus 40. If we look for that, Celsius at the top, Fahrenheit at the bottom. Minus 40 degrees Celsius just so happens to be minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a fun temperature because you don't have to actually specify the unit that you're using. Minus 40 Celsius equals minus 40 Fahrenheit. Last example here, let's say temperature is 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside, so that's a pretty hot day. There's your 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So in Celsius, that's about 38 degrees. So 38 degrees Celsius is a really hot day. So that pretty much wraps up the slide rule side, or the front side of the E6B. In the next video, I will show you how to use the wind side of the E6B to determine things like your wind correction angle based on the crosswind, as well as your ground speed based on the wind.